Hello and welcome to this review of my Franklin FKB-3. This one is a donation from a viewer. There's virtually no information about it on the internet, and the original owner couldn't tell me much other than what computer it came with, and that it had what felt like some unknown foam and foil switch. But I found out a little bit about it along the way, and as it turns out, it's a pretty cool specimen. Franklin were a 1980s company that were most well known for making extremely blatant copies of Apple computers, which at the time wasn't yet illegal, but they failed to keep a hold on the market in the end, although they did also make two IBM PC compatible computers, the PC 6000 and PC 8000, and those are what this is the keyboard of. Franklin still operate, although due to their lack of success they haven't been making PCs for over 30 years now. Other than that, I had no idea what it was until I had it in my hands, but as soon as I did, I knew who made it by looking at the back. As you can see, there's a date sticker that shows it's from 1986, but more importantly, it has a set of very distinctive, slim flip-out feet. Exactly the same type of foot that's also on my KB101A, in fact. Opening the keyboard confirms my suspicions. It's an Acer. Or rather, an Acer from before Acer was Acer, as they weren't called that until the following year. In 1986, they were known as Multitech. The PCB also mentions KB084, which I googled, and it turns out that this was the keyboard that Multitech and later Acer shipped with their 910 system. This 84 key model appears to be the cheaper alternative to the extended and much more well-known 101 key KB101A that shipped with the more upmarket Acer 1100, among others. So this keyboard appears to have been OEM'd by Multitech for Franklin, which makes these obscure switches, which are indeed foam and foil, Multitech foam and foil. In terms of key feel, the board is really not great. Like most foam and foil keyboards, it feels fairly scratchy and overall just not that great. Worst is though that it binds a bit on off-center key presses, which really doesn't help the situation, and it's especially bad on the large unstabilized keys like this control here, which literally won't even go down. Although, being capacitive, they should in theory be very durable and have inherent N-key rollover. The switches consist of a housing that's clipped into a mounting plate, and beneath the sliders you have the foam pads and foil discs. The foam is known to decompose over time in boards like these, but in this board the switches all appear to have intact foam. They use rather large green sliders for most keys and white ones for special keys with external coil springs to provide the return force. Foam and foil switches don't have space on the inside for springs, so they always put them on the outside. They also have a little ridge on them to keep the spring in place, just like BTC foam and foil, which are also MX mount. Which is kind of ironic because in the mechanical keyboard world, Acer are most well known for first using Alps switches, then making Alps-inspired Alps mount switches themselves, and then switching to rubber domes with Alps mount. So an MX mount switch from them is quite unexpected. Maybe it's just so that they could buy these dark caps from a third party, although at present I'm not sure who made them. Still, I'm not complaining because the caps are very nice, high-quality double-shot ABS caps, and precisely because they're MX mount, you can use them on a modern board. They have a pretty cool two-tone grey colour scheme, which is more or less the inverse of the well-known Dolce Pack series of keyboards, of which several repro keycap sets were produced. Of course, because it uses an 84-key AT layout, it doesn't have all the keys that a modern 104-key keyboard has, and some are a different size or are in different positions. But still, it's nice. Also, the lettering is quite different from the standard cherry lettering, which is much thicker, so it might not look 100% consistent when combined with certain sets. That said, the caps do look very nice on its native board. The case has a very retro black and red styling going on, which the caps fit into perfectly, and the whole thing gives off a very NES controller vibe. It's a bit like that fake NES Real Force that Topra teased a while ago. I like it. By the way, I hope you guys do appreciate how hot a studio without aircon can get, with the windows closed, the fan off, and 540 watts of lighting shining on you. Regrettably, I can't get it to work on my computer, which is strange because it uses a 5-pin DIN plug, has an AT layout, and was used on a PC-compatible computer, which strongly suggests it uses the AT protocol, which is easy to adapt to a working PS2 port or convert to USB with a commercially available converter. However, I've had no luck, so either the Franklin computer used some weird proprietary protocol for the keyboard, or this thing is electrically buggered in some way. It does power on, as we can see from the power light, and it does have some kind of self-consciousness because it toggles the lock lights just fine when you press the keys. But none of the keys send scan codes, or at least not ones that the converter can understand. Apart from it not working and some kind of stuff in the top right corner near the lock light, it's actually in outstanding condition, very clean and no yellowing at all as far as I can see, so I'm not convinced the problem is electronic. In fact, a geek hack thread on the Acer version mentions it appears to have some kind of Sora-incompatible XT protocol, which explains why the keyboard toggles the lock lights itself. The build quality is pretty decent. At a weight of just under 1.3 kilos, it's not mega heavy or anything, and in fact the shell is fairly thin plastic, but it does come with a metal mounting plate for the switch housings and even an expensive FR4 double-sided fiberglass circuit board. They included a paper and foil grounding plate in the build as well, which is quite useful for capacitive switches. It also has a highly coiled, reasonably thick black cable, and the aforementioned typical Acer type flip-out feet and Acer non-slip rubber pads at the bottom. One big disadvantage is that while the board is held together in the middle with screws, it uses plastic clips at the top and bottom, and these tend to break off fairly easily in my experience, which sucks donkey balls. I guess I don't think it'd be a very good typing keyboard, although I've had decent success gaming on certain foam and foil boards, but I guess it doesn't matter considering it doesn't work. It's a pretty cool looking one at least, and has a fun bit of history behind it. Nice caps too, which is always a plus. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.